What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now today I'm back on r/EntitledPeople, and how about this for the first story of this episode? My sister climbs through the second story window and assaults me. I've watched a channel read out a lot of stories like this, but I never thought that I'd ever witness one or even be involved with one. But alas, my sister changed that. Who knows? Might be this channel. For some context, I am a 17-year-old man, my sister is a 20-year-old female. She is 21 weeks pregnant and smokes cigarettes, weed, and vapes while being so, and I refer to her as entitled sister. We verbally argue a lot, but it's never gotten physical. She insults my weight and calls me homophobic slurs. During this event, I had a friend staying over who only heard what happened from my room. So this morning I woke up to my mum calling, telling me to lock the front and back door and to not let my sister in. So I assumed that they had an argument. After the call ended, I did this and I returned to my room. A couple of minutes later, my entitled sister is in the back garden telling me to let her in for something whilst banging on the door constantly. After ignoring her, it went quiet for about 2 minutes when I get a phone call from my mum telling me that my sister is climbing the front of the house to get into an open window. For reference, the front of our house has a wall in front of it, and the front door, shower room, and hallway stick out, so she climbed from the wall to the part that sticks out into the window. I meet her at the window, and I can't exactly push her, so I let her in and try and close the bedroom door. By this time, my mum said she was calling the police before I put the phone down, so I was going to try and keep her in the room while that happened. At this point, since I was unable to close the bedroom door, I put my back to her and blocked the doorway, because my sister said that she was going to smash up the house. She was trying to get past me and slowly pushed me down the hall. Once we got close to the stairs, I tried to restrain her because I didn't want anything happening to either of us because she is still my pregnant sister. But I didn't restrain her properly, I guess, so she dug her nails into my neck, forearm, and then she bit the same arm. I have pictures, I just can't post them on this subreddit. Oh my. After this, I punched her in the back and let go. I didn't want to, it just kind of happened. While this happened, she was screaming police and that she couldn't breathe. Bear in mind, I never obstructed her breathing. After this, she walked down the stairs and got a bat from next to the front door and threatened me with it, though I doubt she would have actually hit me. Like a minute later, she climbed out of the living room window and waited for the police with her friend. When the police came, I gave my account of what happened. I was going to press charges in the moment, but my mum convinced me not to. But she is not to come near us or the house again. If she ever assaults me again, I will press charges. What a start to this episode. Okay, crazy start to this one. I've got no idea what's going on, what the family dynamic is at all, but the image of your entitled sister climbing up your house to get into an open window is just insane. The biting and the physical abuse and stuff, yeah, less funny. But the first bit of that was just so amusing. The fact it's your sister and she's pregnant as well, just the risk of doing that is so stupid. But then again, you said that she smokes cigarettes, weed, and vapes while pregnant. So yeah, I probably should have guessed that she'd do something as stupid as this. What a woman. I'd love to meet her. Let's move on. Now for our second Entitled People story of this episode. But it's just a few dollars. I just witnessed, quite possibly, the most entitled interaction of my life. I, a 40-year-old woman, was at my local convenience store, talking to the owner's daughter. She needed help with homework and was asking everyone if they could help her understand it. Shakespeare isn't for everyone, but it's something I thoroughly enjoyed at school. I'm in there almost daily, so they know me. In walks this woman, probably around my age, and she begins gathering items and dumping them on the counter, completely disregarding other customers who were already at it. This goes on for a few minutes, and then she goes to pay. At this point, the clerk is serving someone else, and this woman interrupts the transaction and states, "My items are on the counter, so you shouldn't be serving anyone else, as I'm clearly waiting to be served." I always believed that, in order to be served in a store, you had to physically be in a line or at the counter. Maybe I'm wrong. The man being served smiles at this woman and says something along the lines of he's buying smokes and needs 30 seconds to complete his transaction, and she can just wait. This led to much huffing and puffing from the woman. She then turns to me and says, "Can you believe the audacity of some people?" I can't help but giggle before I reply with, "No, but I really do appreciate the irony. she didn't get the joke. By now, the guy has left and the clerk is ringing up her items and putting them into bags. He finishes and tells her the total, which was $30-something. She tells him he will take $25 because that's all she has. He tells her he will willingly take the $25, providing she removes sufficient items to ensure it covers her bill. Introduce tantrum, stage right. I need everything. You can't deprive me of my needs. Who do you think you are? I'm calling my husband. The clerk doesn't miss a beat and replies with, well, make sure he brings his wallet. Now, the kid and I have completely forgotten about Shakespeare and are enjoying the theatre production unfolding in front of us. Out comes her phone, and she's scrolling furiously while repeating, just wait until he gets here. Again, the clerk doesn't miss a beat and says, I have no other choice but to wait. My shift doesn't end for another 3 hours. She literally stamps her feet while shouting, but it's only $10. I'm also at the point of having to put my fist in my mouth to stifle my laugh. This woman calls her husband and puts the phone on speaker. He answers, and she puts on this really pitiful, whiny voice. Baby, I'm at this store and the clerk is holding me and 2 other females hostage. You need to come and rescue us. This guy must be all too familiar with his wife's antics and says, you can't really be held hostage and be allowed to use your phone. So either you didn't have enough money or you're trying to buy alcohol without ID. I didn't stifle the laughter, and now this woman has 3 people openly laughing at her. She has to sheepishly admit it was the former. Her husband then says, if you leave the chips, candy and soda behind that you don't need and that we have more than enough of in the house, I'm sure you'll have enough money. She started to protest and her husband uttered, I've told you about doing this. Say one more word and I'm cancelling your birthday. She stamped her foot again as she hung up and told the clerk to remove the suggested items so that she does have enough to cover the bill. As she's about to leave, she actually asks that no one posts about this on Reddit. Wow, that is just a wonderful story. You know what? I think that might be the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, if you've been around on the channel for a long time and you can remember a time where this has happened. But I don't think we've ever seen anyone before in any of these stories ask that nobody posts about it on Reddit. That is so good. I know that Reddit has obviously blown up and subreddits like this are much more popular now than they were a few years back. But still, for someone to say, okay, maybe just nobody posts about this on the internet and let me be, is so funny. She clearly knows from what her husband has told her that what she's done is terrible. What I don't get is, from his perspective, why is he still with her? Maybe he kind of likes the fact that she is just so dumb and he has to keep her in line, but it's a bit weird as to why, you'd be with a woman like this. Nonetheless, makes for funny stories, I guess. Now for our next story. We aren't a dang daycare. So, quick background. I work at a private kindergarten that is a school, not a daycare. We teach math, reading, manners, writing, etc. Obviously, it's very simplified. We have a schedule that is posted weekly of our classes, and children have to test to get in. Due to where we are located, one of the richest neighborhoods in a very large city, most of our children come from wealthy families. Up until now, this has not caused any more issues than children bragging about their social level and then being humbled by not even knowing what money is, as is to be expected. However, I have a family that is incredibly entitled in my class. When their child arrives, she has to strut around a bit and make everyone stop and say hi to her, which is fine since she's 5 and what else should we expect? But the issue is that she shows up 5 minutes before lunch almost every day, interrupting my class when my students all get up to go and hug her. Our first issue with these parents bringing her late is that her parents refuse to let us know when they're doing it and why they are doing it. They won't answer the phone if we call, and they'll lie to us if we ask if they're coming today. For example, my partner teacher called and got through to the mother and asked if the child would be coming the next day, as we had an activity to plan. And the mother explained they had an issue with some documents that day, and that's why they couldn't come, but they'd certainly be there for the activity. Well, guess who didn't show up and who didn't call? On top of this, the child is straight up failing every subject. Halfway through the school year, they don't know the alphabet, they can't do basic math, they can barely count to 10. Meanwhile, the rest of the class has excelled in all areas, and there are 5-year-olds that are already reading and doing basic addition. But this child's mother complains that the homework is too hard for the child, as if they ever actually do it. We have to deal with this almost every day. All right, halfway through this, guys, I've got to interject and just say, why haven't you kicked out this child yet? It's not the fault of the child, but just if a family is this difficult, and you said it's an incredibly competitive school, right? But if a family is this difficult and it's disrupting everyone else, just get them out of there. Anyway, let's carry on. OP says, I say almost every day because lately she has started showing up at 3:15 and school ends at 3:20. Her parents bring her just for her after-school programs, which she greatly enjoys, but I'm fed up with it. The school is actually struggling to keep children due to some staffing mess-ups, way too complicated to get into, so they can't tell the parents to pound sand when they show up at the end of the day, and no one is willing to tell them off at all. Okay, makes sense a little bit, I suppose. Due to this, the child hasn't attended a single class in almost a week, showing up just as the other children leave to attend the fun programs. What really gets me is that they clearly don't need a school right now. They're clearly home with her until 3 p.m. and only drop her off for 2 hours. They don't want her actually learning, which has put her far behind her peers in this area. And the way this child acts in the country we live in Asia, wherever they go from here, elementary, international school, another kindergarten, whatever, she is in for the rudest awakening of their life. If they return to their home country, I know for a fact she'll be beaten for the way she acts on the rare occasion that she is in class. These parents are so entitled that they don't realize they're setting their child up for failure. They treat us like garbage, like a daycare, instead of the school we are. And I'm just sick of it. If it were up to me, I'd start fining them for coming later than lunch. If that doesn't work, I'd kindly tell them to take the kid to an actual daycare because they are wasting our dang time. Okay, you know what? I actually retract what I previously said in terms of it being understandable that these guys haven't been chucked out yet. I do not care what is going on with your company, with your private kindergarten. Just get them gone. Like, I don't even mind if it's going to cost you a lot of money. You've got to do it. It's impacting everyone to such an extent that I'm sure that, yeah, losing a little bit of money isn't great, but I'm sure you can deal with that and just have a much easier working career and life without them there. And, you know, the other families will probably see the benefit as well of that long term. It's definitely in the interest of this kindergarten to just get rid of this family once and for all. They can find something else. I agree with OP. I mean, yeah, an actual daycare. That's what they're looking for. Why don't they just go to that instead? I would also kind of think like that. I don't blame OP for this at all, or the kindergarten. But you shouldn't be allowing a 5-year-old kid to come into a class like that late, waltz around, and like say hello to everyone and get hugs and high fives from everyone. If anything, they should be told to sit down and not be late again. And then, you know, at least they would get that message sort of drummed into them that they can't just waltz in at any moment and just act like a queen. If anything, that's enabling their entitled behavior. And I know it's not your fault, OP, that this child is like this. It's obviously her parents, but you have to start helping out, right? That is one of the main points of school and education. It's not just for you know, getting clever, but it's also, of course, for teaching an individual how to behave, right? You said yourself that you actually teach manners. Where are the manners here? Again, not putting the blame solely or even massively on OP, but yeah, I didn't really understand that bit. But nonetheless, these people have to go. Now for our final story of this episode. The smartest guy in the whole wide restaurant. So, a while ago, me, my girlfriend and her friends went to a fondue place for her birthday. It was a really popular spot, so when we got there were already 15 or 20 people waiting outside the restaurant. We put our names on the list and were hanging out, chatting and waiting for our table. There were 2 outdoor tables with people eating while we waited, and one group finished up and left, leaving the table empty. Enter smart guy and his girlfriend. This guy walks up to a restaurant and sees 20-ish people standing outside around an empty table with used plates and silverware still on it, and just sits down at the table with a very smug look on his face, like he's figured out a life hack that all the other people in line were too stupid to think of. Everyone outside is giving this guy the stink eye now. His girlfriend, who unlike him does have the ability to feel shame, starts trying to tell him they need to put their name on the list and he can't just claim a table at a busy restaurant just because nobody else is currently sitting there. The guy, who is fully being glared at by at least 6 other people a few feet away from him, doubles down and explains to her that that's not how it works. He was the first to claim the table, and he doesn't want to move and give someone else the opportunity to take it. She tries in vain to argue, but smart guy just gets on his phone and continues tuning the rest of the world out. Then, like 30 seconds later, a waitress comes out to clean the table. And when she sees him, she's like, yeah, you can't sit there. There's a huge waiting list. Do you seriously not see all these people around you? And some people outside start laughing at him or making comments. His girlfriend is freaking mortified, and as soon as the guy sheepishly gets up, she insists they leave as she's too embarrassed to eat with him in public. It's just wild to me the way that some people will double down on behavior that they know is wrong just because they think admitting their wrongness makes them look stupid. It's just being stubborn, that's all it is. This guy, I'm sure, just thinks that he is, the dog's balls, for want of a better phrase, and has probably been able to do this in the past and has gotten away with it, but thankfully now is being called out on it. Everyone has met or knows somebody like this, don't they? They're just terrible. They just think that they are above everyone else in society, and I don't know why, because they're not. If anything, they're below other people, just because they're so stupid and arrogant. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know why people do this sort of thing. Like, as you've said, OP, how does this person just not have any shame or guilt for what they're doing? If I did this and I saw 6 people glaring at me, I'd probably think, even if I didn't know it was wrong, even though it so clearly is, I'd probably think, I wonder if I'm doing something wrong here. And also, I cannot face the fact that 6 people are glaring at me and then just get on with my meal. I don't know how people do it. They've just got no awareness at all. But yeah, this guy is just clearly a bad bloke, and his girlfriend should not just not eat with him in public, but how about just not eating with him ever at all and sacking him off? That's what I'd recommend. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want more Entitled People content right away, check out on screen this 3-hour video of all the best Entitled People stories from the past few months. If you're on a podcast platform, I will link to that down below. Enjoy it, and I'll catch you on the next one.